Well, I have 9 o'clock and we have lots of folks on, so I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Thanks everyone for joining for March First Friday. I can hardly believe that I'm saying March already. We'll in like a lion yesterday, I don't know, with all the wind. We've had some lamb weather, so we'll see what all of March brings. But been pretty interesting winter thus far across most of the country. Anyway, I am excited to share with you today some work that we've been spending a lot of time on since the beginning of the year. It has been a very busy week, so we're going to recap the end of this week in talking about some things that we did last week. As many of you know from last week's Directors Weekly, I talked a lot about budget and the focus on some changes in budget that we're having in multiple ways. One at the university level with our new president, Dennis Asanas, and his desire to relook at our budget structure and model and how we might do this differently, moving away from the responsibility-based budget model that we've been using since I've been here and since before that. So more than 5 years, we've been using that model. And so we are relooking at that, and the president invited each college to make a presentation to him and members of the senior staff. As a matter of fact, there were at least 16 others in the room, everything from research to facilities to the some professional development, just the whole 9 yards, to diversity. All the senior staff with the president were there, and each of the colleges had an opportunity to make a presentation about their college around some specific guidelines of how they wanted us to provide information. There was a template, and I was very pleased that Dean Rieger invited me to be a part of that and to share the cooperative extension segments within that whole college model and template. So today, both he and I and others felt that it was important for all of our staff to know the information that was shared as part of that president's meeting and what's happening with that. And the follow-up to that is that we will be having, the president is meeting with the deans on Monday as a budget follow-up. He has now met with all of the colleges, and we're now looking at his response to all these meetings and next direction around the budget model. Added on to our conversation with President Asanas about the college budget and working within the university was also then discussion about the state budget. And as I mentioned in Directors Weekly last week, we were also asked to talk about scenarios about the impact of budget cuts with that. And so we'll talk about that at the end of this as well. But as I said last week, that's just scenario planning. We're a long way from knowing what our budget's going to be from the state at this point. There's a lot of things at play right now. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on that because everything I'd say would be speculation at this point. So I am pleased this morning to provide this update, and along with me, I have Kaukab Rashid. Kaukab is our budget manager for the college, and she was very instrumental in helping pull together this presentation that we did for the president. And also, she is very knowledgeable about the information we'll be sharing. So I've asked her to fill in and talk about the college part. Mark Rieger, Dean Rieger, was unable to be with us this morning due to some commitments that he had. And so we're going to share with you the slides that we have, and Kaukab and I are going to do some sharing of that. And we're going to go through them pretty quickly with not a lot of detail. I will say we end up having, I think 2.5 hours that we had with the president and his staff to talk about this. We're not going to spend that much time with you today, so we're going to flip through some of these and really just give you a sense of the kind of information that was there. And then I'd just like to leave it open for you for questions, comments that you may have related to the budget situation and where we're at, and what I can tell you about that. So thanks for joining, and I'm going to at this point share my screen and for this slide presentation that we have, and I hope you should be able to see this in just a moment. And have the full screen here. Please feel free to use the chat pod. I'm not able to see. I don't know how to set up some way that I'm able to see the chat pod, and I'll have to work on that. That I can see the chat pod if your questions would come along. So feel free just to unmute yourself, interrupt, and ask questions at any point. But thanks, Kakab, for joining this morning. She's using her first Zoom presentation thing, and I want to introduce what our overall outline for the presentation is, and then turn it over to Kakab. We did, the framework that we were asked to talk about in this meeting we had with the president was to talk about the dean's goals for the college and the college goals, and an overview of what those are. So how the dean's goals align with the college overall goals. And then we were asked to talk about how the college aligns with the president's strategic themes. And so you'll see there are the 5 bullets that have been ongoing since the president's been here, promoting excellence, student success, inclusive excellence, which is around inclusivity and diversity, global and interdisciplinary programs, entrepreneurship, and investing in our intellectual and physical capital. So we were also asked to talk about where we are in terms of resource generation plans. So you can see how our cost recovery plan that we just talked about in extension fit in. So this was the general outline that all of the colleges were asked to speak to with that. And I'll flip the slides, and Kakab, thanks for joining us, and I'll turn it over to you to begin, and we will do some sharing of these slides as we go forward. So thanks, Kakab.
Great, thank you, Michelle. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for having me this morning. I'm sorry for the itchy throat. You're gonna hear a bit of a frog in the throat issue from me. The Canner overview slide, well, just to back up a little bit, President Sanis has been on board for now almost 8 months. And Dean Rieger and our leadership felt this was a great opportunity, in addition to talking about our budget and our initiatives, to also familiarize him with the college and how unique we are in so many regards. I guess one of our biggest selling points to undergrads and grad students is that we have a 350-acre classroom, which is all our physical facilities, our land, our farm, our research buildings, etc. And it's not just the Newark farm. We also have a considerable size of property in Georgetown and the Warrington farm as well, not to mention the Dover facility. So these were great points to make. I think the other point that gets missed often is the College of Ag may be the second smallest college in terms of enrollment, but we're the third largest program in terms of sponsored program expenditures, and that's not even including our appropriations. This is what we generate from competitive sponsor funds. That's huge, because we're competing, well, not competing, but we're ranked right after College of Arts and Sciences, and then the College of Engineering, and then us. So that is a very big point to make and to come across to senior leadership. We have pretty much the primary public engagement arm for the university comes from cooperative extension out of this college. We've had tremendous growth in enrollment in undergrad and grad populations over the last 5 years. And despite the fact that our faculty and staff numbers are actually on the decline, so we're actually doing more with less resources than we've had in the past. So these were great points that I think the dean wanted to start out with making with the senior leadership in Elliott Hall. Thank you, Michelle. You anticipated I was going to say flip the slide.
I've been through this before.
You're a great driver there. Here's some cool pictures, which I thought was really, really nice to share with leadership and for even for our own knowledge. The farm, the Canner farm, and that's the graphic, the map that you're seeing over on the right-hand side. All the green in the bottom third of the map is pretty much the Newark campus for the College of Ag. And you can see how the blue, which is all the stormwater runoff for the city of Newark and the university, flows through our farm campus. So that's a really cool point to make, is that we are actually contributing to the environmental health of the campus, the whole campus. There's some pictures there of the wetlands. I think Dean Rieger said that was a bald eagle sitting on the electric pole.
Yes, that's what he said.
And then there's a little fox there giving us the suspicious eye. So you can see just on Newark campus and on our facilities, we have so much so much variety available in what we can provide in terms of environmental experiences as well as the physical facility. The other very important point that we do want to make is our sponsored programs are so strong. Not only have we seen, and you can see on the graphic on the left, the growth that we've seen just in the last 6 years. We've grown from about 26 million to just around 30 million in this year expected, which is substantial within the current economic framework. But not only that, when you look at the comparators within UD and within the other colleges, and this is the graphic on the left side, the table, which was from a study called, I believe it was Campus Framework was the study. We were given this data. The College of Ag generated $30 million of sponsored program expenditure in 2016, and this includes our appropriations. It includes cooperative extension work. It includes all sponsored programs from our academic departments. And when you look at some of our comparator colleges, you see 40 million from arts and sciences, 45, almost 46 from engineering, and 16 from Earth Ocean, our next closest college. That gives you an idea of the scale of sponsored programs coming out of this college and the amount of work that we do in research and extension. If you look at some other metrics over here in this table, that's even more substantial. You can see the research expenditure per PI. We have about 68 PIs counted here. This does not include extension funding, though. That's $272,000 per PI. And you look at the comparator colleges, and you can see how significant that number is. The FTE per PI and the square footage per PI kind of gives you a scale of the group size and the lab space per PI, per those 68 research faculty members. And then if you look at the return on the asset per square foot, see how high that is. We're almost equal to engineering in that regard. See, this gives you an idea, and I think that was the point that we were trying to make with senior leadership, is that how immense our contribution to the sponsored programs of this university are. Our return on assets, you can see, is higher than the university's average return. Our group size is larger than the university's average. So that kind of is a really great point that we were trying to make there, is that what is the significant contribution from this college?
We then talked about, this is when Cooperative Extension was able to jump in, and one of the key terms that President Asanas has, he talks about filling the gap. He uses that term quite a bit. And I was able to jump in here then and say, and Cooperative Extension does fill, with this great research that we have, does fill the gap between that basic research and then the implementation. And I shared with him at this point a very brief history of Cooperative Extension, how we got started over 100 years ago, the boll weevil, and when there was research, we knew how to take care of the boll weevil, but we couldn't get farmers to apply the techniques. Extension came out of that framework, how we're in ag and youth and family development, and we work in local communities. I talked about bringing together the people from the communities to solve their problems and the importance of being a land-grant university. And I also talked about each of our extension offices being the front doorway of the university right in the community, and the importance of us being in the community with that. So there was a number of things I talked about, but this was my 101 on cooperative extension slide. So I won't give all of that to you, but that's what this was the couple minutes I had to talk about that. We also then went right into the data that I pulled from our LIMPER systems about our areas of excellence. Again, his term, putting it in our areas. I listed our plan of work areas on the left side, what our participation is, and we talked a lot that we're reaching 91,000 people by face-to-face. This is not just all our contacts. This is participation face-to-face from our LIMPERS data, and I talked that that's 1 in 10 Delawareans that we're meeting face-to-face. That was a significant figure to talk about. Because there's also this request in our guidelines to talk about that, talked about our staff and the makeup of our I'm sorry, this is the makeup of our contacts, that in the state of Delaware, and I'm pleased to put this together from our Limbers data, that we are reaching about a 25% racial and ethnicity diversity in our, what you're reporting in our direct contacts. So I hope that you can see now how this reporting stuff is, how we're able to use this, and that we are reaching both male and female quite significantly, and it's not just one gender with that. I also talked just specifically about our agents and the gender and makeup of that, because that's a concern as we look at diversity and inclusion of faculty and staff, and our race and ethnicity of our cooperative extension staff. And we're above the norm in terms of meeting some of those things. So that was helpful to share with them as well. And then the piece that really got us on the table was sharing our new impact reports that I shared in Directors Weekly, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. Very thankful for the communications staff for our work with Catherine Hamrick on this, and each of you. We've taken these are last year's impact reports. Some of them we've asked some of the authors to bring up into 3 to 5 years worth of data, compile that data. And I was able to share these 4 new impact sheets, and I specifically talked about this. And the conversation stopped at that point, and they said, "This is great. Can you get us 50 more copies of this to share with the Joint Financial Committee, Joint Council on Finances, so for the state?" So by the next day, we had done that, and we're there with that. So that was a big thing for them. And I did share, I'm flipping through here, sorry, I'm not sure it's time. I did share with them in hard copy. They received all of these as well, personally, as well as those to take to the Joint Council on Finance. So these are great, and we're ready to start on the next 4 of these. And for those of you who haven't seen these are loaded now on our website. They are below the fold on the web page of our home page. And a link to each of these is there. So thanks to many folks who have helped to work on this: Trevani, Michelle Wofford, Catherine, for getting these together. So then back to the college things, Cobb.
So
undergraduate.
Yes, we do. We wanted to show our figures for undergrad, grad. You can see undergrad is up. The grad enrollment is up from about 160 degrees, which you can see the upward there. Michelle, you're confusing me here.
I know. I'm sorry. I don't know. It's automatically flipping here. I'm not.
So significant growth in our grad and undergrad, and basically in our scholarship programs. And then the next one, please, Michelle. So you can see here, student credit hour generation. This is significantly grown faster than the other colleges in terms of teaching undergraduate 4-credit classes. When you look at our population as well, that is growing. Our underrepresented minority student population has been growing significantly. The next slide will show you what national trends for colleges of AGS show regarding the areas, departments, and majors that have potential growth. And this is, again, national trends. And you can see we're, I believe, except for 2, we are very strong in economics and plant sciences. So you can see that these are generally a growing field across the nation, and we are certainly competitive in those regards. In the next slide, you can see Dean Rieger put together just a blurb of what are the kinds of growth areas, the majors that we have that have strategic potential nationally to attract undergraduate students. Statistics, agribusiness, food science. Our pre-vet program we know is a very, very strong and certainly a growing major nationally. And then sustainable food systems, I believe this is the one that Mark mentioned. President Asanas has a personal interest in seeing that become incorporating into our curriculum. Now, as I had mentioned earlier, we're doing all this with declining numbers of faculty and staff. And you can see that what's been happening basically is that as we've had retirements or departures in some positions, we have not been able to fill them or have filled them in another strategic way. And that's why we can see a slight decline in both faculty numbers and in staff numbers. But however, if you look at the URM trends in our faculty and staff, we're actually seeing something to be very, very proud about here is that our female faculty numbers are growing. Even though the population is shrinking, we're seeing a growth in new faculty within the URM field. If we could go to the next one, please. Yeah, so the next pillar that President Asanas wanted us to address was initiatives to promote excellence. And here we had a lot to say about what we have in existing initiatives. We have a very strong research background. We have a very strong commitment to the land-grant mission. Our experiment station is extremely well established and very involved in the community. We have a genomic sciences and molecular biology program. We have researchers as well as teaching faculty in this field that we're doing a lot of interdisciplinary work with other colleges as well as across other institutions. Our soil chemistry and microbiology programs, not just teaching, but research and extension, all are involved in this field. We have some great things to talk about in climate science regarding our initiatives. And it actually, if you look at that, it spreads across every single academic department within this college. And if you look, and I'm sure as you look through this, you can see that all our fields do have some kind of contact with all our departments and extension when you examine how many people are involved. The public engagement via cooperative extension, of course, throughout the state. We have an $8 billion ag industry in this state. Cooperative extension touches pretty much every aspect, not just of the ag industry, but of the health care, of all sorts of family and public health issues. Everything is involved through cooperative extension as well. We have not just research faculty in some of the core facilities at the university. Our faculty were instrumental in setting some of them up, specifically DBI, Denon, the Water Science and Policy program, the Bioinformatics program. These are interdisciplinary programs with other colleges that we were pioneers in. So the microscopy core and the genomics core, these are developing and certainly existing initiatives that we can be very, very proud of. On the next slide, for the emerging initiatives to promote excellence, the one very strong area that we will be focusing on is One Health. And again, this is an area that does stretch across all the academic departments and extension. There are some examples there on the slide itself. Microbiology is another area that we're exploring. Biogeosciences, we received a UNIDEL to support exploring that field of study, both research and teaching. The Department of Applied Economics has had a lot of turnover recently in its statistics teaching faculty, and this is an area that we can now certainly focus on strategically as we try to hire in new faculty and position ourselves more for data sciences. Another area that Dean Rieger feels that we could explore is ag law and policy, and we could probably partner with other institutions locally. The ag industry, this is an area that we could probably focus on and gain a lot of strength locally, is to partner with local industry as well as to teach students regarding ag regulations.
And I'll just add, Kakad, to this. The dean and I have been in conversation with University of Maryland, and we are working on a memorandum of agreement with for extension around the work of the ag law. I met with many on the ag team, and we talked about this and doing their publications and making them Delaware focused for Delaware, and we are in conversation about a memorandum agreement for the next fiscal year to do that. So that's coming along.
Excellent, excellent. I think that's a very exciting area that we could certainly grow a lot of, be very unique in this area, in this state. The student success, the next pillar that we discussed, we can see we have various programs that are unique to this college. To study abroad, we have about 80 students per year. We offer over 70 internships per year in the summer and throughout the year. So, Cooperative Extension has some programs, other departments have programs. We have a lot of facilities that we can use that provide great learning opportunities for students outside of the classroom. We also provide opportunities for undergrad research. That's an extremely unique and very, very strong feature for our students to be able to avail themselves of. The Ag Ambassadors, I'm sure a lot of you have met and know Ag Ambassadors. What a wonderful opportunity that is, and what a great way for our students to be involved in our college. We have 11 of our 12 majors that have faculty advisement, so a lot of involvement there from faculty. We have those of our programs that need certification. We have met them in food sciences and wildlife. We do offer a lot of opportunities for hands-on teaching in the Newark and Middletown farms as well. If you look at some more figures here, what my understanding is, our new president, Asanis, is very, very involved and very interested in metrics and graphics regarding numbers and trends. It's really exciting that we were able to provide him with such successful rates and how much we've grown. And if you look at enrollment in the college, and that's the graphic on the top right of your screen over there, you can see that we're hovering right over around the UD mean. In fact, we've exceeded at some points the UD mean. We have great retention rates. We have a higher yield than the UD average. We have this extremely exciting metric that 95% of our pre-vet majors that applied to vet school were accepted, and that's unprecedented. That's not something that you can find in any of the other pre-vet majors across the country. Another great opportunity for our students is that we are, I think, one of the largest found majors. That means we have a lot of internal transfers from students who take a class perhaps in this college and discover that the major that they would like to pursue for their future is in this college. Thank you. And sorry, Michelle,
yep,
you wanted to?
Yep, and I'll stop in. And so then we got a chance to talk about, since he asked us to talk his metric of student success, then we got to talk about extension as a part of student success. And here's some of the data that we presented and shared about partnerships that we have, and that we talked here about. The first door that students walk through to the university is our extension office, and that we are reaching 42% of Delaware's youth, the highest percentage in the country. And shared some of the TUF study, which is a longitudinal study about what the impact of 4-H has on youth and their likeliness to go to college and do STEM work, and some other things, data that we have from that, and cited that as there. And so brought in that and really reinforced that cooperative extension is a great opportunity for students to get enrolled in University of Delaware, that we bring them on campus, that we engage them in activities here on campus. And when they come here, it's a natural for them to enroll here because they come here. I did send a note to Doug afterwards, and I'll say to all of our 4-H staff, I really think we need to look at the number of our 4-H youth that are actually matriculating to UD and see what that looks like and have some tracking of that, because I think we probably have a great story to tell, but I don't know that we've collected that data. So I put that out as a challenge, as something we look at as we move forward.
Thanks, Michelle. Then I'll just flip through the next bunch of slides pretty quickly. We talked about the inclusive excellence is another big banner that the President's office is really interested in seeing. We talked about Accelerate, our Summer Scholars Program, which really creates a pipeline for our grad programs. I believe there are about 2 to 4 summer scholars that do end up enrolling in our grad programs after they've been to the college. We have the Manners Club, and I forget, Michelle, what Manners stands for.
The minority, it's the minority, and I've had this at every college, and I'm not going to remember either with that. But it's a club for minority in agriculture and natural resources. I think that it is minority in agriculture and natural resource, and then I forget what the last 2 things are, but that's what it's focused on.
Okay, and I believe the picture on the bottom right of your screen is our
Manners Club.
Manners Club, yes.
Yep.
So, and again, it's not just clubs and initiatives that we're doing at the college. We've got partnerships with local universities as well.
Yeah,
Um,
and I'll just jump in here, Kalkab, and say that this is a new grant that was just funded, and Extension is a part of that. Mark Parcells is the PI on this grant about for students and scientists, and we have an Extension scholar that we've listed as working with Mark Parcells. It'll be paid for from this grant, but we're incorporating this into our Extension Scholars Program to be a part of this. So we're involved in this too. We're integrating with the departments.
Right, and so and then the global and interdisciplinary programs, again, we're involved in so very many things. Our study abroad programs, very successful. Lead Delaware, many of you are aware of how very inclusive and successful this program is as well when it comes to outreach. We have partnerships with various institutions, and I believe this is a point where Dean Rieger did mention that we have found that our areas or the continents that we do the most work with are Latin America and Africa. You're also probably familiar with the Burrell Fellows Program, which is a partnership with an institution in Kenya. We have a lot of grad programs that have interdisciplinary approaches. I mentioned bioinformatics and the water science and policy program. We're also looking at biogeochemistry and microbiology programs. One Health we mentioned is one of our emerging areas of excellence that we want to look at. And then other areas include sustainability. And then, of course, you're all familiar with the 4-H international programs, which are very, very successful and highly thought of.
Yeah, and that was grant funded rather than gift funded. I need to correct that slide. So with that, but we did have a chance to talk about the 4-H international program as well there.
The other opportunity for talking about entrepreneurship, we do a lot of outreach and entrepreneurship activities that we have been able to leverage the college's resources. Of course, UDairy Creamery, we're all very familiar with that. We've got the location in Newark, the truck, the Go Baby Go Cafe, which is over across the street at Star Campus. And then we're opening a Wilmington location in I believe, early May. Which was actually featured in the Washington Post yesterday. So we're famous. So it was on the Delaware Online that got picked up by the Associated Press, and it's now in the big leagues, the news item. So that's pretty cool. Milk sales and farm sales, as well as, again, help support our experimentation funds. We have organic produce, we have honey, Ag Day, of course, a very big event for the college, very important. I believe we have 8,000 to 10,000 people attend. That's big. It's coming up on April 29th. Again, if you're like me and you plan your spring around Ag Day, it's already on your calendars. We also sell woolen blankets, the UDBG plant sale, very big. There's always a lot of patrons from the local community and from around the area who are very, very inspired and involved with UDBG. The wine and beer, as you're familiar, we have teaching regarding the wine class, and I believe the beer class, well, it's not really a beer class, there's a fermentation opportunity that is being worked on. There might be a beer class, is what I've heard down the line. I don't know how we're going to swing that. We're also
that's out of class time.
That is out of class time. Oh, okay. The Angus beef, we have an Angus herd, and we've started also selling beef patties and burgers currently right out of the creamery in Newark, and eventually out of the creamery location in Wilmington as well. We're also planning a brand, Healthy Hen Beverages, which is once our creamery production facility is up and running, we will be able to create yogurt and other beverages involved from the dairy. So that's a lot of exciting things going on. The Creamery Wilmington location that we're hoping to open by this spring, there's the blueprint of it, or the design for where it is, and a rendering of what it's going to look like. It's on Market Street in Wilmington, right across from the Grand Opera House. It's right next to the Chelsea Tavern, in case you're familiar with the area. So we expect to see a lot of traffic and a lot of good sales opportunities there. We will be selling all our products that were in the previous slide through this location. So very exciting, in addition to having a production facility for ice cream at that location.
And a program for students to be involved in. It's very involved. I'll just comment that I think both Call Club and I got to go to the 5-year celebration of the Creamery last year, right after Ag Day. And one of the things that was most surprising to me was the camaraderie from the students that have developed, those who have worked at the Creamery, been a part of that development, been part of that. They really have formed strong cohorts, and that experience has really impacted their careers and what they're doing with that, those who've been through that and are involved in that. So we know that it's really a hands-on learning that's been really meaningful for our students. So
Yes.
I moved to research, the entrepreneurship and research.
Yes, and we have a lot of not just research going on in the college, but here were some highlights of where we have been able to not just do research, but leverage that research into patents and definitely groundbreaking areas that have been picked up and benefited the community at large. If we could flip to the next one, thank you. So here's something that Dean Rieger shared, which I thought was so cool. We are actually, we have 57% of all the licensing income that the university receives comes from patents that came from researchers in this college. So that's amazing. Over half the licensing revenue to the university was born at the College of Ag. So that's pretty cool. And you can look over there and see some of the commercial organizations that have picked up our products or our products derived from our research. Very, very exciting there. The next slide is basically just a little conversation here on how much we are actually plowing resources that we're trying to plow back into generating intellectual capital. The teaching incentive, as you may be aware, we put back funds in the departments based on their teaching, on their credit hour teaching loads and the growth in credit hour teaching, so that they can continue to grow and support teaching programs. These funds can be used to support directly teaching costs, grad student stipends for teaching assistants. It could be classroom improvements, lab renovations. So it's very, very useful that the more you teach, the greater the funds share that's available to you, and it's available to be able to improve for future teaching. And
I'll speak to the leadership ones, because this is one that's clear to extension, is that the dean has really invested in leadership development. Some of you have had that experience. We've had folks from extension at Lead 21. A number of you have had that opportunity. I've been very positive about that. Eric Womack and myself have both been beneficiaries of participating in the Food Systems Leadership Institute. And so we, as a college, continue to invest in our capital for across our program areas and responsibilities, and just sharing that for this this piece of information. And then I think we talked about some unique things, CALCOB, in terms of our college versus other college, about our physical capital. And I'll turn that back to you, because this is really the finance stuff that comes in CALCOB, about how our college is a little bit different in terms of some investments we have to make.
Yes, and a lot of our facilities are ones that we not only support and maintain on from our own college funds, rather than from the central university tax that we pay, but we're also responsible for any major renovations that go on there. Most recently, the Lasher Lab renovation, as you're aware, was a very large renovation. It now has BSL Level 3 capability, which is really exciting. I believe Allen Lab is Level 2. So
no, Allen is 3. Allen
3.
Is 3.
Okay.
Yeah,
Allen Lab up here in Newark is 2. Lasher is also 2. These are really, really, really important things that we've been able to do, which are instrumental in turning around the research and outreach that go out of those facilities. And again, you can see during the Lasher Lab renovation, we had moved everybody out into trailers. We decided to keep on those trailers, and now they have also been converted into further lab space that we can use at the George Stadt Carvel.
And we'll give Mark Isaacs the vision for all that and making all that happen
yes.
In regards to that.
And when you say trailers, I know I envisioned something entirely different. When I saw those facilities, they're buildings, and they're very, very sophisticated space. So it's exciting that when we're able to do something like that and avail ourselves to opportunities, which we're able to invest in.
And I think, Kakab, it's in the point with this slide also that as this college that we have all this physical space to take care of. So that's one of the things that's different and unique about our college is that we have this, but we also have to invest in it
Exactly.
in ways other colleges do not need to.
Yes. Some of you have probably seen the commons and the upgrades to the commons recently. That was definitely a student-driven initiative. We really needed to have that space be more welcoming to our students. I'm just going through the previous slides still, Michelle, just a couple of things I wanted to go through. We've been able to upgrade the grad space in the Department of Applied Economics. It's a really lovely, wonderful space. That is the space for our professional degree grad students. So it's a little different from what you would expect research grad students to have, and it's really wonderful for them. We're investing in our Wilmington location as well for the creamery. This is again going to really just turn around and help us in the future generate teaching, etc., and entrepreneurial activities out of that space. The master plan that we put together in 2013, it had a lot of maintenance listed on there. What we've been able to do since then is not just the creamery expansion, for which we received a very generous UNIDEL that's in part of that 1.1 million you see listed there, but we've also been able to renovate and add to several structures on our farm. The Newton building has been renovated and houses multiple areas in there. We added a pole barn on not the one just in Dover, but we added a pole barn up here in Newark as well. Definitely a lot of maintenance goes into our farm buildings. An immense amount of work has to be done to upkeep those buildings in a usable space that can continue to support our teaching and research missions. We've invested in the poultry unit, we've invested in Allen Lab, and of course the UDBG master plan, which is a direction for that unit as well. Here's basically, this is Mark's slide where he had to throw in and remind everybody about Warrilow. Warrilow is in dire need of renovations, definitely to support our researchers in that lab space. And we've been trying for several years, as you're aware, to make sure that we get the funding and the priority on the facilities maintenance list to get Warrilow completed. Sorry, go on, Michelle.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, and Mark's really been working on that, and there's been some recent changes in that and some trends in the good direction, opportunity to apply for a foundation grant that would help with that. So I expect that the Dean may have some good news to talk about this in coming days. He certainly has been working on this for 5 years and is a wildly important goal for the college. And there's been a lot of ups and downs on this. But we'll wait and see. That one's still on the discussion phase, and some positive upticks in that discussion. So I think when the dean is able and things really do get worked out, we'll have some information about that in the coming weeks, hopefully.
Yes, thank you. And also listed are a couple of other structures, Georgetown, Dover, as well as our farm buildings. And we wanted to point out that these are not covered by central facilities. These are initiatives that we have to raise funds for and cover from the college's coffers.
So I want to note that Parady's on there, and we're certainly aware of the roof needs there and the water leakage and some other issues that we think are going on there. And that is on the university list, but it falls under us as well. So it's on the list, folks.
And
I think we'll have to move this along quickly here. We're getting towards the end of time here, Kakab, if we can just move through some of these pretty quickly.
I will go through it very quickly. We have the resource generation was basically to show how we're trying to grow our programs in terms of acquiring more students, funding, etc. We have the self-funded program for Masters in Statistics. It's going online this fall. We have the grad tuition policy, which offloads at least 15% of tuition on grants. And then we have an ag ed major that we're looking at, which would be a 4+1. We have several proposed programs in there, and I'm not going to read off the slide there. Our research area, resource generation in research is what we're trying to make the point of. As a school, College of Ag at the university, we actually have a lower F&A rate than the rest of the university. We're at 41% versus 56 for the rest of the university. And what we calculated is that despite our effective rate, if we were able to charge the full F&A on some of the grants that we do charge full F&A on, we would actually be able to generate an additional $600,000 to $700,000 a year. That is huge. That's at least 4 to 5 faculty positions, if you think about it, in addition to all the resources needed to support them. So that was a great point that we needed to make. Throw that over to you. No, I'm done. I was going to transition to you.
Then you all have had office meetings in your office about our research generation within Extension. We're able to talk about this. This is where I was able to then relate to them how Extension is funded, and we talked through that, and I spoke a great deal about how we leverage that, and this is our current pie chart in terms of where this is. With that, it's more difficult to talk about what all we're doing in cost recovery in terms of collecting those dollars, but I'll talk about that in a minute. I wanted to show you this. I have shared it with the leadership team. You saw 2 slides ago that I've been tasked to raise the F&A rate. We do have a very strong linear trend that's upward. We have increased our F&A a trend of about $300,000 per year since I started tracking this in 2012. And so we're going in the right direction, and we've had a lot of great things. And I have said to them, for example, in our 4-H program, we're leveraging one position with one grant-funded position in 4-H 1-to-1. And so our leveraging is important, and we really are making positive, significant trends in this resource generation and extension. So we talked about that, and we also talked about they wanted to know about what we're doing for resource generation in extension. So we talked about cost recovery, some things that we're doing that are being put in place, some examples of where we're doing that and where we're bringing the money. And as I said, my biggest challenge is it's very difficult for me to summarize what those dollar amounts are for resource generation, but was able to give them some examples and how we use that then to help us provide our programs. So again, this work that we've been doing for a couple years has really came to an important point as we were able to share it with the president.
And just the last couple of slides, just to show fundraising growth, which is awesome, is the amount of people that have generously donated funds or committed to donate funds to the college has doubled in the last 4 years. And to conclude, our net graduate tuition, which is the difference between graduate tuition revenue raised and graduate tuition waivers allocated, has grown. It's doubled also in the last 4 years, and the result of not just only self-funded students, but we've been able to offload more funds on there on the bottom right corner.
Sorry.
Oh, we're done.
So I just wanted to have a few minutes to have time to have us have conversation and questions, and I'm going to try and stop sharing here and go back to the screen so I can see you and chat pods and any questions. So this is the kind of information. There was a few more detailed slides that we had on finances. We didn't include those. There was hard copy information that we provided on the college on the finances of each of our units. And as I said, we were asked also, as I said in Directors Weekly, to discuss budget scenarios, and we did have quite a bit of discussion about budget scenarios that we might have to consider related to state funding with that. But as I said, they were scenario planning, it was discussion, they wanted to understand what kind of impacts there would be, and particularly our college, which has a huge amount of state funding coming into that, what the implications would be for all of our units in the college related to where the state funding is. And afterwards, I want to say I went right up to the budget folks in the budget office, and I just said, so what do you know in the state budget as it relates to the university? And the answer is they don't. So we're all not holding any information. We're all, in what's going to happen. And as I said, there's a lot of things between now and then in terms of that. So basically, we're not making commitments for those 2018 fiscal year funds, and we're waiting to see how things play out on that. So I just wanted to have the last few minutes that we have here for questions, comments. This has been a lot of data, a lot of information. I felt that we were able to incorporate cooperative extension and a lot of things about the college. Both Eric and I were appreciative of a chance to be part of the presentation. And I have to say that I felt that it was a very receptive audience to what we were doing, and it was a positive meeting. So that's where we stand on that. So are there any questions, comments, things that we might have said in some of this that wasn't clear or wasn't understandable in terms of what we were doing? You can unmute or type in the chat pod. I can now see that, I believe. So anything there from the group? This is the part of the chance for interaction here. Our next steps, as we understand them, is that the president and his staff will have heard now from all of the units, all the colleges, and that we anticipate hearing back around the university budget model. Kakab, am I correct on that? That that's the next step in terms of that piece?
Yes, the meeting, we don't have any deliverables for that meeting or any guidance as to what will be shared, but our understanding is that the deans are invited and there will basically be a recap of, I guess, what the takeaways for the senior leadership was from all the meetings with the colleges. Now, the one thing I don't know is if they were also meeting simultaneously or consequently with the non-college units and what effect that would have on the budget. So more to come. We're all trying to just feel along as we go.
Okay. And I will just say on the state side, in terms of the state budget, I did share in Directors Weekly a week or so ago, and I ask you to be engaged in that process this year in sharing your impact stories, as well as asking one of your stakeholders to share with a legislator the impact that your program has. I just don't think we're in an environment where anymore we can take that for granted that they know what we're doing or what impact that we're having. We really do have a great story to tell, and shame on us if we're not telling that story. I know it's not what we like to do first and foremost. It's not where we like to put our energy necessarily, but we do need to engage in that process. You have your own impact stories that you've written this year to talk about what you're doing, and I know all of you can talk with passion about your work, and that's a role that is appropriate for us to play. The part that we don't want to cross the line on is specific ask for funds or finances, and that would be seen as lobbying, but sharing our impact is really appropriate. Then on the other hand, our stakeholders can talk about budget. They can say that these capacity funds are, we can say that they're important, but they can specifically make comments that they hope that we continue to having the funding that we've had and preserve the extension funding on this. And obviously we'll have to work within whatever the university does, but I provided some of the governor's listening sessions, some of the other things that are happening in legislative offices. Mark Rieger and I will, with Ernie Lopez's assistance, will be visiting in Leg Hall this month. Likewise, we have 3 volunteers and Maria Pepitas from our staff who will be going to the Public Issues Leadership Development Forum in Washington, D.C. in April. And then I will be joining them and we will make some visits to our legislators on the Hill at the last day to talk about the extension. So at both the state and federal level, I believe we have some role and responsibility to be engaged in telling our story, and thus the impact sheets and the opportunities that you have and the value of those things that you've written, not only for your performance appraisal and not only for our NIFA reporting, but now actually to share with your clientele and to ask them to share that as well. I want to say thanks to Kakab for helping fill in and share these slides that and this story that we've been working on and telling. And thank you for tuning in to hear what was shared. and we will keep you updated as we have more information about how this is done. But I hope you had a very positive feel for the college and our part with the college and the integration we have with the college in telling this story, and we'll keep you posted as we learn more. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us on this March 1st Friday. Have a great day ahead. A Directors Weekly should be out. There were a lot of great things that happened this week, and lots of photos coming in Directors Weekly this week. So you can look forward to that. So thanks, everyone. Have a great day.